Phansi attack at Congress. Calls for hanging of Congress government.
सबसे पहले सजा देने का मौका आपको मिला है. कमल के निशान पर ऐसे बटन दबाओ कि उनको सजा पक्की हो जाए. जैसे उनको फांसी दे रहे हो ना, ऐसे कमल के निशान पे बटन दबाओ.
Congress flags taunt as hate speech. Demands action by EC against Prime Minister Modi. Opposition alliance sees red. Echoes Congress demand for action.
मुझे दुख इस बात का है कि कल प्रधानमंत्री जी एक सभा में बोल गए कि कमल का बटन ऐसे दबाओ जैसे फांसी दे रहे हो. ये प्रधानमंत्री जी की जुबान है. अरे कल को आप नहीं होंगे, हम नहीं होंगे, ये देश होगा. यहाँ के लोकतंत्र में संवाद की गरिमा बनी रहनी चाहिए.
As political war gets downright ugly, is this a trailer of the 2024 fight?
Good evening. You're watching To The Point here on India Today. I'm Akshata Nandagopal, and our focus this evening is on the high-voltage Rajasthan battle. Even as we've seen the polling in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh wrapping up, the focus now shifts to Rajasthan and Telangana. And in Rajasthan, the big focus is on a controversy that's been triggered by a comment made by the Prime Minister. While addressing a rally in Barmer of Rajasthan, you had the Prime Minister making those comments, lashing out at the corrupt, accusing the Ashok Gehlot government of being corrupt. He has said that anyone who's corrupt, teach them a lesson. Press the lotus button and hang the Congress government. Press the lotus button and hang the corrupt. It's over this now that we're seeing an all-out political battle, because the Congress has said that what the Prime Minister said is equal to hate speech. Let me bring in on this broadcast our guests. I'll start with political analyst Amitabh Tiwari, who's joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Amitabh Tiwari, thank you for joining us here on India Today. You know, in a heated political pitch, we've seen far too many examples of these kind of extremities, on jibes, on attacks, on taunts. And here you have the Prime Minister's comment coming under scrutiny from the Congress, who was saying that this is hate speech. The EC should act. What do you think, Mr. Tiwari? Do you think that this warrants a comment like, saying that this is hate speech?
See, in the last leg of campaign, these type of comments are made by leaders from both the political parties. And these sometimes are also taken as rhetorical statements by the voters as well. Because ये जो public है, ये सब जानती है, sort of. So, why has the Prime Minister chosen corruption and the law and order issue? So, the law and order is one of the top 5 issues in Rajasthan across surveys. So as an opposition party, when strategically you are trying to show that the incumbent government has not performed up to a certain level, then obviously the opposition will raise the issue of law and order. We have the Kanhaiya Lal murder issue. We have a boy being beaten. So this is an issue there which the BJP is trying to exploit. Second is the corruption. So I think in one of the surveys, Rajasthan was amongst the top 2 or the second in corruption based on the records of the NCRB data on the number of complaints which was filed. So again, corruption is an issue, and the Prime Minister is trying to exploit that and show that his government,
Sure,
there is no corruption case.
but the kind of wording, and the BJP has, you're right, focused largely on corruption, on women's safety in Rajasthan. The wording that's been used, Amitabh Tiwari, when the Prime Minister says, press the lotus button like you're hanging the Congress government, press the lotus button like you're hanging the corrupt and teach them a lesson. Do you see this resonating? Because very often the Prime Ministers come up with these kind of, clarion calls, you could call them, in these rallies, which then resonates with the people. Do you see this turning into that?
See, I mean, we are taking the words, I think, very literally in the meaning. It is an indication, or he is trying to indicate that when you press the Kamal button, this will end, or this will lead to an end of the regime of the Congress party, which according to him is fairly corrupt. and the law and order situation under Gehlot government has deteriorated because Gehlot largely, as per BJP, has been focusing on saving his chair in the first 4 years, and the slew of schemes which he has launched is largely in the last year of his campaign. See, Hindutva, communal tensions, polarization, these are also issues in Rajasthan. Rajasthan being a border state, nationalism is a very big issue. Many people, many soldiers from families are in Indian Army and other battalions. So this nationalism also works a lot with the voters of Rajasthan, and that is why probably the reference has been made to terrorism and how the act of terrorisms have reduced under the BJP regime.
So the Prime Minister essentially, when he puts the focus on corruption, makes these kind of comments, perhaps is trying to highlight how grave a crime really it is by making this kind of a comment. I'd like to also introduce on this broadcast Ashprit Karyal, spokesperson of the Congress. We also have Shazia Ilmi, national spokesperson of the BJP. Thank you both of you for joining us here on India Today. Shazia, if I can begin with you, the Congress says that what the Prime Minister said in his rally in Barmer is and amounts to hate speech.
How exactly? I mean, it's difficult to fathom what they're trying to say, but I don't understand the context at all. Prime Minister is very strict and very tough on corruption. And if you see, this is the first government that we've had at the center, 9 years running, which has not had a single scam or corruption in any of its department or ministries. So if Prime Minister is saying that there has to be complete strictness and zero tolerance to anything to do with corruption, within and without, it does not tantamount to hate speech.
But the wording used, Shazia, is yes, zero tolerance to corruption. But the wording used by the Prime Minister is this, saying press the lotus button to hang the Congress government.
So, when, Hindi and English languages have their own nuances. So, button dabao or inko phasi pe chadao, whatever, is like a symbolic use of language which says that, the way you can do away with them and to do with this evil is by choosing a government that promises you transparent elections and good governance. And that is the whole idea.
I mean, you're saying lost in translation, but if you look at it in Hindi, it says essentially, jaise unhe faasi de rahe ho, which means like you're sentencing them to death. So you can say that, sure, it's not hanging literally, but...
Let me finish. Yeah, let me finish. So, yeah, you're right. So there is no, you can be literal about it and it still sounds really bad. But the fact is that when you translate a proverb or a simile in English, it does sound very different. And not just that, Prime Minister is saying and empowering the people, that it's all in your hands. So when he's doing prachar for the party as the tallest leader, not just as a Prime Minister, but tallest leader of the biggest party of the world, he says, the power is in your hands. Go out there, exercise your choice.
Okay, Ashprit, your response to that. Shazia saying that this is just lost in translation. There's nothing wrong with what the Prime Minister has said. His message is a message against corruption.
See, asking the voters to press the lotus button to hang the Congress government, one, amounts to hate speech, which is an offense in itself. And I'd appreciate if the Bharatiya Janata Party could actually condemn when an offense is committed. And, Shazia was saying that the Prime Minister is very strict on corruption. If he really is, then why, one, have you inducted leaders like Narayan Rane, Subhendu Adhikari, then Mr. Mukul Roy, then Mr. Biswa, etc., who had corruption cases pending against them before they joined your party? Number two, now I would like to ask the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Prime Minister himself, how many leaders in your party that have corruption cases pending, that have criminal cases pending according to ADR? The BJP's elected leaders have the maximum criminal cases pending against them in the country. Now, how many of them have been told this thing, that, you ought to be hanged and stuff like that, which basically is one, an offense. Second is provocatory. So
what Shazia is saying is it's proverbial. It's proverbial and, there's no offense involved, as you're saying, that this is hate speech. They're saying that it's not. It's the Prime Minister making a proverbial comment saying that, attack the corrupt.
And it's also very rich from Arshdeep saying that. Arshdeep is very, you know, I find it very, it's very skewed when it comes from you.
I'd have to interrupt you. I'd have to interrupt you if you keep on interrupting me. Please hear me out. All I'm saying is that the Bharatiya Janata Party needs to understand one thing. Even if you are in the central government, even if you have the power, you're not above the law, you're not above the constitution, you're not above the people of India. Please understand one thing, there are reasonable restrictions to freedom of speech and expression. Number two, I want them to understand, I mean, Shazia here, I challenge Shazia Elmi. Shazia, could you please tell us the definition of hate speech? If you could, and if there is one given in the law, I would really appreciate if you could put it before the people, because
Arjun, okay,
so you've asked that question. Let Shazia respond. Ashpreet, you've asked that question.
I will respond to.
You've asked that question, Shazia. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Arjun spoke a lot, and you repeated yourself. Now the fact of the matter is that your party leaders, whether it's Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi, they are both on bail. Whether it's even.
How does it matter? What does the principle of natural justice say?
Don't keep speaking. Don't keep
speaking. 1 second. Ashpreet, let Shazia finish her point. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. I'll give both of you a chance to counter, but we cannot go on with each other.
I'm not able to speak.
Ashpreet, hold on.
To speak because he's constantly. So, and whether it's and whether you're a former finance minister and what charges they are. So the fact of the matter is that there is a system in India, and whether it's a prime minister or a CM, by saying that the power of the leaders hangs in the fate of your choice. You exercise your choice, your franchise, and you exercise your power and ballot, and that's how you rule out a government. It does not mean that there is any taking over of the power by a present regime or dispensation when it comes to the due process of law. So there is no confusion about that. By deliberately misunderstanding the entire proverb and then misleading and making it about hate crime, aren't you being too clever by half? Because isn't the sophistry at many levels? You know very well.
Aren't you doing that?
You know very well.
Proverbial?
No, I'm not calling it. It is proverbial because you know very well it's not possible. For even the Prime Minister or any Prime Minister of this country had wanted to do, or CM, that you don't have the power.
No, so I have a question. Ashpreet, before you respond.
It is completely nonsensical.
Okay, before you respond to Shazia, Ashpreet, you're saying that what the Prime Minister said is hate speech. I want to play out for you what Priyanka Gandhi has said about Jyotiraditya Scindia. Let's play that out first for our viewers. I'll come back to you on that.
Sure. Please.
क्या है कि कद में थोड़े छोटे पड़ गए, लेकिन अहंकार में तो भाई वाह भैया उनके पास जो भी कार्यकर्ता जाता था कहते दीदी कि हम क्या करें, महाराज महाराज कहना पड़ता है, हमारे मुंह से नहीं निकलता तो फिर कुछ काम ही नहीं होता हमारा। वैसे उन्होंने अपने परिवार की परंपरा अच्छे से निभाई है। विश्वासघात तो बहुतों ने किया है, लेकिन इन्होंने ग्वालियर और चंबा की जनता के साथ विश्वासघात किया है। आपके पीठ में छुरा भोंका है, बनी बनाई सरकार को गिरा दिया, और वो बनी बनाई सरकार आपकी थी, आपने वोट दिया था उसके लिए।
Okay, so the first line of that, Ashpreet, when you've got Priyanka Gandhi speaking about Scindia, saying he's short, but his ego is very big, is that not a personal attack? Is it below the belt?
Thank you for the question. I hope I wouldn't be interrupted by Shazia, otherwise I have to reciprocate. Number one, the Bharatiya Janata Party leaders have called our leaders Saddam. They have called our leaders Diane. They have called our leaders raincoat pehen ke nahana kaise hai. They have called a fellow MP, an elected MP of the Bharatiya Janata Party has called a fellow MP terrorist. They have called our farmers terrorists. And I want to ask Shazia Elmi if that was defamatory, derogatory and demeaning, yes or no? And was any disciplinary action? I won't even ask if anyone was suspended or removed from the party. Was any disciplinary action even taken against anyone of the leaders? Number two, one second. I'm not
Hold on, Shazia, I'll come to you. Go ahead.
Number two, you know, there was another statement made by the Bharatiya Janata Party in Rajasthan. They said the morale of terrorists and rioters soars when the party is in power. Now, I think they are equating our farmers to terrorists, because if we have uplifted the morale of the farmers by helping them, by standing by them, by supporting them, and the Bharatiya Janata Party's leaders have been calling them terrorists and trying to equate such statements, I think the Bharatiya Janata Party should for once introspect, should do a little bit of soul searching. Maybe tomorrow, before giving such statements, the Prime Minister, who has so many people who look up to him, like you allegedly say,
please, because
would 1 second, at least they would not be...
Ashpreet, quickly finish and then I'll go to Shazia.
Last thing.
You're not being
1 second.
You're doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
They can 1 second, Shazia, let me complete. See, the hatred of the Bharatiya Janata Party is understandable also. They can keep on coming at us with their hatred. Our love ki dukaan, our pyar ki dukaan will always be open for everybody.
Okay. Let Shazia respond.
1 second, just one thing. And there's one reason behind it.
You made 3 points. Just let Shazia respond. I'll come back to you.
There's one reason behind it. I just want to say this, that the semi-finals of the elections of India, the Bharatiya Janata Party knows they are losing it. Like in New Zealand lost to India in the
Is this even a point? I mean, I want to
Therefore, their hatred is understandable.
Okay. So Ashpreet is predicting a New Zealand-like loss for the BJP in this semi-final. But let's focus on this entire politics. And you've got Ashpreet, essentially, Shazia, saying that, look, the BJP is a habitual offender of making these kind of comments.
I don't even want to begin. And I think even my detractors would know this very well.
Condemn the BJP.
That one person who has been, that one person, one politician in this country who has been vilified the most, who has been verbally assaulted and harassed the most, it is our Prime Minister. Whether it's Maut ka Saudagar or Hitler or Ravan, and jo Hitler ki chaal chalega, wo Hitler ki maut marega, to burning his effigies, to saying all kinds of filthy, smutty things about him. And not
Would
just
you answer
him,
the question?
but so no, please be quiet. So I don't want to dignify your remarks at all because you don't remarks. What is this? I can't talk like this.
No, let's not get down to this. Let's not do this. Ashpreet, just hold on. Let Shazia finish your point. I'll come to you. Let's not do this back and forth and bickering, please.
So, and also you played out a video in which Priyanka Gandhi very shamefully, attacks a person and talks about his height. Can you imagine somebody could be short, tall, vertically challenged? Imagine the language used. And not just that, did you see how she used the phrase "chura bhog denge"? Chura bhog diya.
1 second, what about
it's the same logic. Again, you're going on.
Ashpreet, hold on. I'm going to have to mute you if you don't let Shazia complete, please.
You behave yourself a little bit. I know it's difficult for you. It's difficult for you to do that, but
go ahead, Shazia. Go ahead, make your point quickly.
And you made some rubbish points about it's BJP which is in the maximum for the farmers, whether it's Kisan Samman Nidhi or taking care of their well-being, or DBTs, or looking at the soil card, or ensuring MSP. It is the BJP government alone which, for the first time, actually woke up to the needs and the cries of the farmers. And we all know what Congress promised and what BJP actually delivered.
Okay.
And that is there in the writing, whether it's your former agriculture ministers asking for the very same things that we actually gave in the farm laws. But of course, you had a problem with that because you had to use it as an opportunity again to incite farmers. So please don't use one against the other. Coming back to the former point of what Prime Minister was trying to say, how is this even hate speech? I can say Priyanka Gandhi was saying was calling Jyotiraditya Scindia a murderer, was saying chaku bhog diya. What is the evidence she has?
Okay.
So there is a turn of phrase. You speak in a certain way.
Ashpreet, the allegation of Shazia is that, look, the Congress is the one that's always resorted to these kind of comments. We all know what played out in previous elections, the kind of words that were used to the Prime Minister, Neech, Chaiwala, Maut ka Saudagar. So can the Congress really afford to right now call the Prime Minister and say that, listen, you've resorted to hate speech?
I'm sorry, I think the Bharatiya Janata Party keeps on forgetting that it was the Prime Minister himself who made a defamatory statement against the former Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, in the Parliament itself, when he said, "Raincoat pehen ke nahana kaise inko bade achhe se aata hai." So the Bharatiya Janata Party...
But that is a very intelligent and a good way to say what you want to say.
No, is that... That's a direct... One second. Shazia, hold on. Is that a direct comparison, Ashpreet, to Neech, to Chaiwala, to Maut ka Saudagar?
Is there a comparison to Dayan, to Saddam? Is there a comparison to Dayan, to Saddam, to calling a farmers terrorists, to calling a farmers Khalistanis? Is there
one? Hold on, Shazia, please let him make his point.
I cannot continue like this. You have to mute.
Shazia, hold on, I'll come to you. Shazia, we're going to have to mute you. Go ahead, Ashpreet.
Thank you very much. See, I want to make two things very clear. That the Bharatiya Janata Party in Rajasthan made statements like, sometimes there are riots, sometimes there is stone pelting, sometimes there is curfew. This has been the picture of the Congress party in the last 5 years. I just have one word for the Bharatiya Janata Party, for Mr. Modi: Manipur. And there's another word I'd like to add, because Shazia likes to add a lot of words which, hardly have any relevance, but I'd still make some relevance to it. When Mr. Modi's statement came on Manipur, there was a massive, massive delay. And the Bharatiya Janata Party...
we're digressing. Ashpreet, answer my question. Answer my question directly. You're digressing into all other issues. Answer my question. Can the Congress afford to preach when they've resorted to this kind of, hate speeches? They've resorted to below-the-belt attacks at the Prime Minister.
So does this, one second, allegedly what you've said, does that give the Prime Minister the right to say, that award the Congress party a death sentence?
No, it doesn't. I'm again asking you the question. I'm asking you, Ashpreet, if the Congress can preach. I'm not saying that Prime Minister, what he said was right or wrong.
I'll answer that also. Congress has never initiated. Congress has only reciprocated, because the Bharatiya Janata Party does not believe in giving justice to us, does not believe in equality, does not believe in freedom of speech and expression. So at least the Congress party would have to stand for itself. And all I'm saying to the Bharatiya Janata Party is that, number one, before you utter such words, at least for once consider your own party leaders who have corruption cases pending against them, and who are convicts also. What have you said to them? What have you done to them? Have you even removed them?
Okay, that last issue on which I'll get Shazia's response. Ashpreet, hold on. Shazia, the Congress is saying that the Prime Minister can't afford to preach on corruption to the Congress, that there are many corrupt netas who continue to get awarded in the BJP.
So every time there is an ED raid and stashes and vaults and mountains of cash are found, what is said? The same story is there. They have one answer for every
95% cases against.
So again, you go on. You talk about 95%. Can I tell you, only 3% of cases that ED looks at are political
conviction
cases.
rate.
Where 3%, and out of 3% is 98%. 98% of the cases to do. That's what I'm saying. 98% of ED.
Conviction
That's
rate.
what I'm saying. Anyway, do you want it to be gone like that?
I'd like to ask who's Suvendu Adhikari? Who's Mukul Roy? Who's Suvendu Adhikari? Who's Mukul Roy? Who's Narayan Rane?
I want to ask the anchor.
Shazia, just respond to that one question. That there are corruption allegations against BJP leaders. Very often it disappears the moment they join the BJP.
Can you ensure there is not somebody heckling in a very distasteful manner when I do that? Can you ensure that? So the fact of the matter is that one thing is for sure, that courts in India and the agencies do their work as per their mandate, and no party should interfere in that and intervene in that. The fact of the matter is that these are huge amounts found, cash in hand, literally so many times, which is why the inquiries is being done. Now, I would like to say that in none of these cases, the people mentioned, I don't think the inquiry against them or investigation should stop because they have come from another party to this party. For sure, it should not become like that. But the fact of the matter is that the same leaders in their parties were the heroes. And they were totally not corrupt, just like he's saying that the party is not. And if they happen to join hands with the BJP, they become suddenly very, very corrupt. By the same logic.
Final word to Amitabh Tiwari. As I'm running out of time, Amitabh Tiwari, final word to you. You've heard what the Congress and BJP have to say on the issue of corruption. You've heard also how they've responded to these allegations of hate speech at each other and abuse politics. Unfortunately, we see it every single time during election season. And it's not something that really cuts eyes with the voter at the end of the day.
Yeah, so essentially, I think the political parties and leaders should avoid making personal statements, and rather, because I'm not a voter of Rajasthan, but as a voter of India, we urge the political parties and leaders to talk on real issues on the ground. So the Congress party has already raised this issue to the Election Commission, and it will be decided by the Commission in a due process. But the Congress party is also spending a lot of time and energy on raising an issue which might not resonate with the voter. This time could have been spent on disseminating their guarantees to the voters. So this battle will not be debated here, whether BJP has inducted corrupt leaders, whether Congress really corrupt or not. All of this is actually going to be decided in the court of the public on the 25th with the result on the 3rd.
Very true. Amitabh Tiwari, thanks very much for joining us. I'd like to thank Shazia Ilmi and Ashpreet also for joining us here on To The Point. That's all we have time for. November 25th is the date that Rajasthan votes. We will see whether any of these issues of corruption, of hate speech allegations actually resonates with the public. The answers, of course, will be out on December 3rd. Thanks very much for tuning in. Good night.